So with a hair evaluation, we analyze somebody's hair in two major components: hair type and hair condition. Let's start with hair type. In determining your hair type, we look at your hair's density, coarseness, and texture. Hair density is pretty obvious. It's how much hair you have on your head, or number of follicles per square inch of scalp. The best way to determine your hair density is through a visual test. Try pulling back and parting your hair in different areas and see how much of your scalp you can see throughout the entire head. A high density head of hair or thick hair will look fuller and you won't be able to see much of the scalp anywhere beneath the hair. Someone with a low density or thin hair will typically have spots, especially around their partings, hairlines, and points of recession, that the scalp can easily be seen through. If you see no scalp, you're probably on the thickest end of the spectrum, and if you see more scalp than hair, you're probably on the thinnest end of the spectrum. Coarseness. Coarseness refers to the diameter of each individual strand. We categorize this as fine, medium, and coarse hair. Coarse hair, fine hair. Coarse hair, fine hair. Coarser hair will feel thicker and much more pronounced to the touch, whereas finer hair will feel a lot smoother and softer, almost like a silk. To determine the coarseness of your hair, try this. Pluck out one strand of hair from anywhere on your head and roll it between your fingers. If you can barely feel it, like it's almost not even there, you probably have a finer coarseness of hair. If you can certainly feel it, but it's kind of hard to track as you're moving it around in your fingers, you probably have a medium coarseness of hair. And if you're rolling it through your fingers and you can really feel it, almost like you have like wool, and you can really track it as you're moving around, you probably have a coarse texture. Now, texture refers to the actual feeling of the hair as well as the topical appearance of the curl pattern of your hair. So you'll heard of things like straight, wavy, or curly hair. And if you're into it, you can look up the numerous and readily available alphanumeric charts that show your curl pattern. But that's it for hair type, which is more of kind of the tangible structural aspect of what your hair naturally is. And it's very important to understand these factors because it kind of determines what you can or can't do with a hairstyle, and also, more importantly, what products and techniques and approach you should use when you're styling your hair. So when you're looking to a celebrity or anybody else for hairstyle inspiration, you ask me if you could achieve it. I don't know. I don't know because I haven't done this with your hair. So that's kind of the idea behind this, is stop asking me, figure it out on your own so you can ask better questions. Now on to the second part, hair condition. With hair condition, we look into two major factors: the porosity of your hair and the elasticity of your hair. Porosity refers to your hair's ability to retain moisture, liquids, and chemicals. We categorize these into resistant porosity, normal porosity, and high porosity. Porosity is important to understand because it's an indicator of the condition of the cuticle layer of your hair. Now, the cuticle layer is basically the outer shell of your hair that's made up of tiny little translucent flakes that lay down flat on top of each other and protect the shaft of the hair. This is what gives your hair that shiny, smooth appearance and also seals in moisture and keeps all the bad stuff out. With a resistant porosity, your cuticle layer is sealed nice and flat against the shaft of the hair, giving your hair a smooth, shiny, silky appearance. With high porosity, those tiny little cuticle layer scales are raised or lifted from the shaft. This can somewhat have a positive effect in that it can create more volume, but it also gives your hair a duller, drier appearance, as well as making it more susceptible to external factors like weather and heat and sun and that kind of stuff. In regards to styling, typically higher porosity hair will be more receptive to styling products and implements. Because the raised cuticle allows product and chemicals to penetrate the hair, this allows the product to have more effect and control over the hair itself. Lower or more resistant porosity does the exact opposite, in that it does a better job of keeping all these external factors out. So it'll be less receptive to styling implements and product, but will just naturally feel more smooth and secure because that cuticle layer is nice and sealed down. Which is why typically somebody with super smooth, fine hair will have trouble getting volume. For example, to determine the porosity of your hair, take a small section of hair and pull it straight upwards and then gently caress the shaft from tip to base between your fingers. The more drag and resistance you feel between your fingers, the more raised of a cuticle layer you can assume. And last but not least is the elasticity of the hair, which is your hair's ability to stretch and return back to its original form. This is often referred to as springiness or bounciness or malleability. Elasticity is generally the best indicator as to the overall health of somebody's hair. And to determine your hair's elasticity, violently remove one of your hairs from your head and squeeze it in between your thumbnail and index finger and quickly run over it, the way that you would curl a ribbon. Then gently pull the hair taut for 10 seconds and release. If the hair completely or almost completely returns to the curl pattern, it's probably in good condition. If the hair returns to a curl of 50% or less or breaks when you're ribboning it, you probably most certainly have some sort of compromised hair condition. Now, once you've gone through this process, you should have a better understanding of what your hair is made of. And from that, decide what hairstyle you'd reasonably be able to achieve, but more importantly, understand what your hair would need in order to achieve it. For example, if you're struggling with dry hair and the look you're going for is a shiny, smoother look, you can start addressing the issues potentially causing your dry hair. So maybe look into a moisturizing shampoo or a leave-in conditioner or a hair mask or something like that. And then even look into some different styling techniques that would help you achieve that look, like a round brushing technique in this case scenario. If you want a tutorial on that, I got one right here. So that's the process, ladies and gentlemen. The next step would be to start looking into hairstyles that would be suitable or achievable based on the hair type that you have that you now understand. Maybe even now that you kind of understand this, my celebrity hair breakdown tutorials might make a little bit more sense and you could get even more value out of those because I know how much you guys have been liking those. Now, to finish off this episode of Jesse's Barbershop, I'm going to be addressing some questions that I've gotten on Instagram and TikTok that are related to everything that we just talked about here. So I'm gonna play this thing that I made. This first question I have is from TikTok, where somebody asks, how do you feel about only shampooing once or twice a week? Recently, I've heard a lot about how it's better to allow your natural oils to do its thing. Well, great timely question, because how often you should be washing your hair completely depends on your hair type. I do have an entire video on how often you should be washing your hair, but long story short, number one rule, wash your hair as infrequently as possible without being gross. Question on my Instagram from Romeo, is there any tips to make hair thicker? Well, depends. If we're talking from a hair evaluation perspective and we're talking about density, not really. Most of your density is bound to the hereditary aspect of your genes and your parents' genes. And in regards to just kind of everyday stuff, there's not really much you can do to increase the density of your hair. But what I have found is switching to a higher quality shampoo or conditioner, or just kind of increasing the quality of your product in general, will make your hair feel thicker, because a lot of the cheaper stuff tends to weigh it down and clump things up and just kind of give it more of an overall thinner appearance. Daniel says, do you have a recommendation for a product for thinner hair? Well, now that you know how to determine your hair type, what you should do is go through the hair evaluation process and determine what it is that your hair needs to achieve the style that you're looking for. John on Instagram says, bro, you say your hair is coarse, but man, how do you get it to be so malleable and flowy? Well, because through my hair evaluation, yes, I do have very coarse, frizzy hair. So the products and techniques that I use to address my issues, I've developed and kind of created a system for over my years of being in the industry and working on my own head of hair. But I have a bunch of different styles, and here are a couple videos that you guys can watch so you can kind of see my process if you're interested. Noah says, hey man, I'm growing out my hair, but I really don't know what my end goal is. I'm not sure what to do with it now. I kind of like the popular middle part or just something messy, but I really don't know what to do or how to style it. I think that's probably one of the most common questions I get is, how do I style my hair? Well, like I said, I don't know, but watching videos like this and doing your research and understanding your own hair is the best way for you to be able to kind of get to that place where you can confidently just say like, I know exactly what I need to do with my hair. I know the direction I'm heading, and I'm able to go for it and achieve it in the best way possible. All thanks to internet's famous Jesse from Jesse's Barbershop. That's me. And hey, that's the end of the video. I really appreciate you guys sticking around. And hey, if you guys have any questions that you want to see me answer in the next video, feel free to drop those down in the comment or personally message me on Instagram, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to those. But if not, we'll probably throw them in another segment towards the end of another video. So don't forget to drop a like, don't forget to subscribe. I really appreciate you guys.